All right, everyone, welcome back. So, as many of you know, there's a lot of information out there, and some of it is helpful, some of it not so much. The Department of Labor also ended up posting some updates over the last couple of days. A lot of it was just not really as helpful as we would be hoping. But late last night, we had a really big development from the Department of Labor that we've been really hoping for and waiting for. And so we wanted to get this information out to you as soon as possible because, as most of you are anticipating, March 31st is coming really fast. And I know a lot of you were thinking about making the difficult decisions of whether to keep your employees and terminating them or some versions of those things. So I'm going to go through these with you in very deep detail so that we can then talk about it afterwards in the comments section here, or you can reach out to us. So here's the update. As most of you know, the way the law that the president signed in terms of HR 6201, the Families First Coronavirus Act, was that if your office if you had employees that were still working for you as of April 1st, then those employees would be entitled to paid sick leave and paid family leave. And so that has now been clarified, and I hope that this reduces so much of the stress that I know many of you around the country are feeling. What the Department of Labor said last night was something very important. They said that regardless of when the office is closed, so either before March 31st, which is the case for many of you around the country who are under state or county shelter-in-place orders, or after April 1st, which could happen in many other states that have not yet had shelter-in-place orders, that those employees do not need to be paid under the Emergency Sick Leave or the Emergency Family Leave Act. Okay, so let me say that again. Really, really important. If you are under a shelter-in-place order and your office is closed due to that or some other factor related to COVID-19, if your office is closed and you're not seeing patients, you do not need to pay your employees for emergency sick leave or emergency FMLA, right? Very, very important, because I know many of you are stressed out by this because we've answered thousands of calls and emails and text messages over the last many days, and it's no fault of your own, of course. The law said that, but now we have clear guidance, which is vital. So what do we do next? Well, there's a couple of things to keep in mind with regard to this. We still believe that it's important to do a cash flow analysis, which we'll talk about in a second. But I want to talk to you about some of the things that apply, as we get ready to open up down the road, because we'll update this again. But what they said last night was that the employees have to give you documentation if they are going to take this leave once you're open for business again. Remember, as long as you're closed under a shelter-in-place order, right, you do not need to pay them the sick leave or the emergency FMLA, which is great. Once you open up your doors to patients, whenever that ends up being, then they can start taking these leaves if they meet those criteria that we've previously spoken about, okay? So hugely important, and they need to give you documentation. So we'll go into much more detail later on about that as we approach offices being open again and these shelter-in-places being lifted. But for now, keep that in the back of your mind. Let's talk about health insurance. Okay, health insurance is another thing that they discussed and clarified last night. What they said about health insurance is that you do have an obligation to maintain health insurance for your employees during your shutdown or whatnot. If your employees have a portion that they're paying for, let's say, their family members or maybe their own insurance, then that needs to stay the same. In other words, the employee is focused or must give their portion of it to you. If they don't give that to you, then you can cancel the insurance. Now, I know most of you will not want to do that. You don't want to cancel the insurance for your employees, which is great, and it's absolutely invaluable that you want to do that. I'm sure they will appreciate that hugely. So if your employees can't afford that, if they can't afford to make their portion of the insurance payments, then I recommend you enter into some sort of agreement with them where when the office opens up and they're working again for you, that they pay it back, okay? Or some other private arrangement, okay? Now, what does this mean for unemployment? What this means for unemployment, and the Department of Labor has been really, really clear about this now as of last night, that employees who are that work for an office that is closed during these shelter-in-place orders or during COVID-19 must file for unemployment if they want any wage replacement. Okay, that is the place for them to go. Okay, they must file for unemployment. Okay, that is their number one place to go. Now, some of you may ask, well, what about the CARES Act that the Senate passed last night? I'm not ready to talk about it. Most CPAs around the country are not ready to talk about it. And the reason is two things, okay? One is that it's not law yet, right? That's really important to remember. It has not been signed by the president as of yet. It has just passed the Senate. So the House still needs to vote, which we think might happen today. And then if there are no more changes, then it goes to the president to sign. So there is nothing, that's absolute in this. The language of the bill is being changed all the time in negotiations. And so very slight changes, but very important changes for you. But here's what we know, that the employees can get unemployment while the office is closed. So if you have taken our advice from videos previously and you have asked your team members to file for unemployment, great. Keep it up. Tell them all to file for unemployment during this time because the office is closed. That is the best way for them to get wage replacement. But the law does not allow you to give emergency FMLA and emergency sick leave while the office is closed. Why do I say it so strongly? The reason I say it so strongly is because a lot of you have asked us this question, which is, what if I want to give it to them? Can I still enjoy the credit that is available? And the answer is no. Okay, the answer is no. The government has specifically now stated that you cannot get a credit on your quarterly tax returns as they indicated, okay, if you pay it while your office is closed. So basically what they're saying is that we want employees to use emergency sick leave and emergency FMLA when and only when the office is open for business, which I know is great news for many of you because you were very concerned about paying those fees while revenue wasn't coming in, which I totally understand and sympathize with. And so now the Department of Labor, I think, has heard you, the collective you around the country, and has made it even more clear that this is not necessarily available to employees while the office is closed. So why are we recommending a cash flow analysis? The reason we're recommending a cash flow analysis is because you need to know how much cash do you have now and how it's going to survive over the next few weeks, so that as you ramp up to open up the office in a few weeks, hopefully maybe not a few months, that you're ready for that. And so please do that analysis with your current CPA. If your current CPA is overloaded because it's tax season and some other crazy things are happening, please let me know. And there are a few CPAs around the country that are doing these special cash flows on behalf of dentists and doctors around the country, just to help them as a service, to help them kind of get through this. A couple of other quick things with regard to the DOL. On the description of this video, once we're done, will be a link to our landing page. On that landing page, there will be another link that will send you and allow you to download a couple of very important notices that the Department of Labor wants you to give to all of your employees. These need to be printed and put in a conspicuous place, so a lunch room or anything of that nature works. You don't need to give it to anybody except your current employees, and so please go ahead and do that. If the offices are closed, there's not necessarily a whole lot of guidance in terms of this, but what I would say is email a copy of it to all your employees in the meantime, and then when the office reopens, print one of those and put them in your waiting room. Not a waiting room, sorry, in your lunch room. Okay. And finally, for those of you who have terminated your employees already, we've never been an advocate of that from the very beginning because we thought that it was a little bit too aggressive to do. But if you have already done that because either from a cash flow perspective you made that decision or you got some other advice, you can hire your teams back right now before April 1st or at any point. But make sure that you have all the new hire documents in place through HR for Health or otherwise. One final point: we're getting a lot of feedback about signing up for HR for Health. This is absolutely the time to do it. I know a lot of you are already jumping on this because you have a lot of time on your hands at home and you want to get your HR house in order. So please, when you get on our landing page, if you want to learn more, you want to know how to get HR compliant and make sure that you're not in this lurch moving forward, make an appointment with one of our team members. Let them kind of walk you through what you can improve in your office and how HR for Health can help you. But between HR for Health, our landing page that has full of resources for you, and then this new wonderful information, please take all this in consideration as you're making your decisions about what to do with your team. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly over the next few days, and I'm happy to kind of walk you through any other strategies. But I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Please be safe. And we will talk again, hopefully next week, with some more updates and even better news as we start to turn on the coronavirus. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.